On this special day, I am joined by a human who exhibits generosity in all that he does. Not only is he happy to share his marvelous experiences and expertise with people, he proactively seeks ways to open up his journey and give access to those around him. He goes out of his way to meet new people he knows his influence can benefit. And he is always happy to make time for a student or a colleague who is seeking his opinion, his advice, and his partnership. He shows us all that when we share something about our own experience, we add more value to it. He is an advocate, educator, and stage manager with a career that includes Broadway, television, the Met Opera, Cirque, and truly everything in between. I am very pleased to introduce my friend and colleague, Cody Renard Richard. Hi, friend. Good morning to you.
Oh, good morning.
Hi, thank you so much for being with us today here at the National Collaborators Conference on our holiday, International Stage Management Day. And on behalf of all participants, I thank you for your time and endless generosity. And I'll see you in a little while.
All right, I'm praying that the internet gods stick with me today. So.
Me too, friend, me too. I'll see you soon.
Okay. First off, thank you to USITT, the SMA, and everyone at the National Collaborators Convention for inviting me here today. I'm really excited to be here. I wish we could be doing this in person, but I'm glad that we figured out a way to connect virtually. When I was asked to give this speech, a couple of things immediately came to mind. The first thing, I'll be honest, was, you want me to speak for how long? And then when I worked through the reality of having to speak on a virtual platform for an extended period of time, I was able to gather my thoughts on why this conference is important to the time that we're living in and how being a collaborator has helped shape my journey. My career, my relationships, my advocacy, my education, my outlook have all benefited from working with others. We forget that sometimes we lose sight of what got us to where we are. We forget that we didn't get there by doing it alone, and we won't get further ahead by continuing to do it alone. Cooperation, partnership, alliance, teamwork, participation, joint effort, union, connection, fellowship, camaraderie, solidarity, are all words, concepts, and actions that are directly linked to collaboration. There is no cooperation without collaboration. There is no partnership, teamwork, or union without collaboration. You cannot show true solidarity without effectively collaborating. This topic of collaboration comes up a lot in our field. And for me, it seems like it's directly related to us wanting community. And we tend to find that community through our work, which is a huge part of collaborating. Finding that community and building these relationships and connections with our peers deepens our experiences and in a way allows us to put our best foot forward. As artists working on various projects, the formula is usually the same, right? We show up, we do the gig, and then we go home. And while leaving or ending a project is sometimes difficult, the memory of that collaborative, communal, and collective experience is one of the greatest takeaways from working in this field. In today's world, it seems that collaboration has become a bit of a, and sometimes even a cliched term. However, collaboration in the workplace and in our daily relationships is what makes teamwork successful. It's that simple. But what exactly does that mean? What exactly is collaboration? Well, in the most basic description, as defined all over the internet, collaboration is the process of people working together and contributing their expertise for the benefit of a shared objective, project, or mission. It's a stage manager regularly convening with the director to plug away at rehearsal goals, or designers meeting with one another to share and receive their concepts for a particular show. It's a dresser checking in with the hair department to strategize the best way to do a quick change, or a dramaturg and a playwright sharing their lived experience to create the perfect ending to Act 1. In other words, collaboration is simply the process of group work and effort. No one does it alone. No one, period. None of your favorite leaders, not Oprah, not Obama, Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, your high school guidance counselor, your parents, no one. At some point on their journey, they had to collaborate to get to the next goal or accomplish the next task. In fact, collaboration is so ingrained in the way we work nowadays that we rarely even notice that we're doing it. But with that said, I think it's worth taking a step back to evaluate how we collaborate with others. I believe that collaboration is a learned skill. You can 1000% be taught how to collaborate, but how effective you are at it is up to you. Now, learning to collaborate didn't necessarily come easy for me. I was raised an only child, so for me, sharing was not something that I wanted to participate in at all. To this day, my cousins still joke about how stingy I was. I wouldn't even share my bag of Skittles. That's how much ownership I wanted over my things. We would be playing games in the backyard or building forts, and I would get an idea, but I wouldn't share it with them because it was my idea and I wanted to do it on my own. So one day, we were all doing our individual chores, and it hit me. It was as if a light bulb went off, and I thought, if we work together on getting our chores done, we would finish quicker and then get back to playing games and building forts. Now, I know that is a very calculated way of collaborating, but cut me a little slack. I was a child, and it actually opened my eyes to the true value of teamwork. By learning that lesson early on, it allowed me to approach my schoolwork differently, which eventually led to how I work today. I learned that successful collaboration requires a cooperative spirit and a mutual respect. The idea of collaboration is simple, right? But in reality, it can sometimes be a little challenging because everyone has their own individual strengths and weaknesses. We all have different cultural influences, communication preferences, and personal goals. There will always be someone better or more knowledgeable than us at something. I'll repeat that. There will always be someone better or more knowledgeable than us at something. The challenge is not letting any of that get in the way. We must remember the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. I'm sure we've all heard that joke before. But by accepting this, we can acknowledge what everyone brings to the table. I know that by adding my voice to a project, I will offer up a very different perspective than a lot of my colleagues. I'm also aware that there's a lot I don't know. So by welcoming the voices of my colleagues, not only is it benefiting me, but it's also benefiting the project. It's important that we're honest with ourselves and recognizing these areas in which we're not gifted, and this is where collaboration can be a mighty, mighty thing. Which brings me to my next point, competition versus collaboration. I recently finished this documentary on Netflix called The Last Dance. If you hadn't had a chance to watch it, do yourself a favor and check it out. It's really remarkable. It basically follows the career of Michael Jordan with a particular focus on his last season with the Chicago Bulls. If you're anything like me, you probably don't know a lot about basketball, but I'm sure you know who Michael Jordan is and what an impact he's had on the sport of basketball. Michael Jordan is believed to be one of the best, if not the best basketball players of all time, and is arguably one of the best athletes in history. This documentary depicted Michael Jordan as this insanely talented, overly competitive animal that worked extremely hard to win. We literally see the blood, sweat, tears, and determination that he put into every game that he played. He was notoriously competitive. His tenacity and will to win was spoken of with awe by practically everyone who was interviewed in the documentary. And rightly so. He's won many titles. He was the catalyst for turning the Chicago Bulls into a winning team. And he's been inducted into the Hall of Fame. But what was interesting, and the biggest takeaway for me, was seeing the growth and change of mindset that Michael Jordan had. He was quoted at the beginning of the documentary by saying, "I play to win. Whether during practice or a real game, I play to win. And I will not let anything get in my way and my competitive enthusiasm to win. There is no I in team, but there is an I in win." However, towards the end of the series, he has a slight change of heart and mindset and says, talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championships. Honestly, I was pretty blown away by that, particularly because this legend, this giant, this leader had made a career by being the focal point of the team's success. And while he absolutely led the team to victory numerous times, in this documentary, we didn't necessarily get to see the value of what true teamwork could achieve. So to see the shift from him going from I to we and getting great results was pretty powerful. By him leaning in on his team, collaborating with them, and working with them, they were able to accomplish more as a whole than he was as a singular sensation. I say all that to say, competition breeds champions, but collaboration breeds collective success. Successful collaboration allows you to work better because it A, creates self-awareness, B, speeds things up, C, boosts morale, and D, you never stop learning, which is so very essential. I'm often asked, what's my favorite part about being a stage manager? And what do I love the most about working in the theater as a leader? The answer to this definitely varies depending on my mood, but 9 times out of 10, my answer is some variation of loving to collaborate with my colleagues to create something magical. And honestly, right now, I am missing that more than ever, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate. I would love to have a director come up to me right now and ask if we can have a confab, or to be juggling multiple sidebars after a production meeting. I'm definitely missing those brainstorming sessions on how to problem solve a major scene change, or working with an actor to figure out how they can safely accomplish the task that's being asked of them. I could go on and on with these examples because we all know that collaboration is a major key in the success of any stage manager or theater artist. I'm reminded of a quote from Oprah Winfrey, who is one of my favorites. She said, "I've come to believe that each of us has a personal calling that's as unique as a fingerprint, and that the best way to succeed is to discover what you love and then find a way to offer it to others in the form of service, working hard, and allowing the energy of the universe to lead you." I couldn't agree more. We all have a calling. We all bring something incredibly special to the table. We all have gifts, and those gifts are not solely meant for us, but to be shared with others. Where Michael Jordan reminds us the value of working together, Oprah pushes us to share our gifts and bring our full selves to our work. Years from now, when we look back on the year 2020, we will undoubtedly be reminded of 3 things: the COVID-19 pandemic, this important election, and the Black Lives Matter movement, all of which have had a direct impact on the theater and our livelihood as artists. We're in a unique position now to engage in these causes, so when we look back on this wild year, we'll be able to say that we did everything that we could, that we stood and fought for something that we believed in. I know that committing to causes for the long haul is hard. I'm aware that sometimes it's daunting to be doing the work and not see immediate results, but that's why it's called work. And that's why it's bigger than us. I tell my students that all the time. I wholeheartedly believe that we get what we give and that our reward is a direct result of how much effort we put into it. This current moment calls for all hands on deck. Our industry has been shut down for 7 months. 7 months. And as we're all aware, production is beginning to resurface in television and film. We've seen a lot of Zoom and digital theater. We're beginning to see live performances as well. And while I commend all the COVID-19 compliance officers, managers, and supervisors for implementing safe workspaces, my question is, who is implementing the anti-racist procedures that we all spoke about back in June? Who is making sure that we continue to look after our mental health and safety as much as we are paying attention to our physical health and safety? There are many, many unions represented in the entertainment industry, and there have been many, many statements put forth by most of them. But as we're returning back to work, in some instances, our focus has shifted back to one pandemic and sadly not the other. The answer to the question that I just posed is us. We are responsible to make this industry more equitable for the next generation. We are responsible to educate ourselves in the areas that we fall short. As the great Martin Luther King Jr. once said, we all have come over on different ships, but now we're in the same boat. And I'll add to that by saying, in order for us to collaborate effectively, it's not enough for us to just be in the boat, but we have got to work together to row the boat to the shore. Now, I know that could be scary for some of you. I get it. I can't swim. But I know that by getting in that boat, someone will have my back, and that's teamwork. That's trust. That's collaboration. That's how we move forward. Generally, the first step to solving a problem is getting a better understanding of the issue. And in this case, that means facing some uncomfortable truths head on. Instead of taking the easy way out by beating around the bush or dressing things up, we can push ourselves into a space that may be both uncomfortable and at the same time transformative. On the other side of growth could be that evolution that allows us to tear down systemic racist practices and transform our culture in a way that lets us show up at work being our authentic, beautiful, individual selves. When thinking and dreaming about the future of theater, for me, this is what I see. The future of theater looks like me. The future of theater looks like each of you engaging in this speech right now. The future of theater reflects a world that I want to live in. The future of theater welcomes, accepts, and supports me as my whole being. The future of theater is a place where I don't have to hide portions of myself in order to fit in. I'm not code switching. I'm not awkwardly laughing at microaggressions. I'm not playing a game to work a system that wasn't created for me. I'm not checking the company list before rehearsal to mentally prepare myself for what I'm about to walk into. And I'm not stepping out of rehearsal to wipe away tears because I feel powerless. Instead, I'm creating art. I'm witnessing beautiful Black and brown and white, and I'm talking African American, Asian, Caucasian, Latinx, Indigenous, Middle Eastern, men, women, non-binary, trans. I'm talking America. I'm creating art and collaborating with cultures and ideas and backgrounds. My voice isn't being silenced. Your voice isn't being silenced. Instead, in this dream world, in the future of theater, we listen without interjecting. We ask questions of clarity for better understanding. We allow a space for others to be heard. We listen without the intent of responding, but instead with the intention of understanding what the other person is saying. In the future of theater, the term, well, it's always been done that way, doesn't exist. The notion of returning to the way things were or the norm does not exist. Instead, it's a world of new perspectives We take the best of what has historically been done and continue to build upon that, knowing that we must release past practices when they no longer serve us. In the spirit of collaboration, we each have a responsibility to not only be the change we want to see, but to actively create that change in every decision that we make. Our words and thoughts have power. What we say and how we move through the world affects more than just us. So now I ask you, please join me in committing to doing the work. Join me in committing to continuing the work. Every day, ask yourself, are my actions echoing what I believe in? Ask yourself, am I utilizing my gifts to the best of my abilities? Am I collaborating with others to combine our magic to make something beautiful? Am I allowing other perspectives in? Am I providing space for someone else to shine? I'll leave you with this because I say it all the time. Your voice matters. Your voice matters in collaboration. Your voice matters in this world. And I can't stress this enough. Your voice matters in this upcoming election. Your voice matters. Your vote matters. So if you're eligible to vote, please do so. Please encourage your friends, your colleagues, your family members to join you in voting. I know you hear this all the time, but there's actually too much at stake, and we cannot afford to sit this out. So if you miss collaborating and creating as much as I do, please vote and wear your mask. Please vote so we can get back to doing just that. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you all for showing up, and I look forward to the work that we will all do together. Thank you.
Oh, I know people are at home clapping. The internet is like, that's the thing with me, right? It's the clapping. It's so, so I take a moment with it. It's just so beautiful, everything you shared. And I so appreciate you, and so appreciate everything that you provide in our community, and all the things that you do and you say to inspire all of us. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So good. Your ship metaphor is so beautiful. Thank you for that. And the part where you said, I can't swim.
Well, it's true.
Like, I can't swim, so it's important, right? I love it so much. And releasing past practices when they no longer serve us. There's so many things to like pull out of your speech and like spread all over the internet far and wide. Am I collaborating with others to use our magic to make something beautiful? Like, oh, it's thank you for that. And I love that you said it is us who must be implementing anti-racist procedures into the production process, and measures to ensure an environment that's both safe physically and mentally, and that we are the change that must happen in the performing arts, the change, for which we strive. When you hear stage managers question their responsibility in human resource matters because they're middle managers, what do you say to them?
I would say get out of your heads. I think that's an excuse. I think that's an easy way out to use the term I'm middle management, so I can't make a difference. I think that anyone can affect change. A PA, an intern, an assistant, a PSM. You don't have to be or the producer or the director to set the tone or to show compassion or to offer a hand or to make someone else's day better. So I think it's all in mindset. If you think that you're in middle management and you can't affect change, then you won't. But if you actively want to, then you will.
I like get out of your heads. It's another thing that, it's put so simply and so perfectly, right? You stressed the importance of voting, which, thank you, yes. And I understand the chat blew up. We can't see the chat, but I understand it blew up with happiness and celebrating you and celebrating our right to vote and the importance of voting. What are some things that stage managers and their collaborators can do right now to be heard, to use their voice? Are you text banking, phone banking, writing postcards? What are you up to?
Yeah, I think there are so many ways to be engaged in this election. And I'll be honest, in the past, I've never considered myself to be political. I wasn't raised that way, so I've never really engaged in politics. But this year is not the time. It is very personal. So I've text banked, I've phone banked, I've been engaging in a lot of initiatives with Broadway for Biden. Shout out to them, they're doing amazing work. But I think as stage managers, especially because the way we think, we're so organized and we're so proactive usually in our lives. I think there are so many ways that we can be active in this upcoming election, especially by just making sure your family's going to vote. I have a lot of family in Texas. I've been really trying to make sure that they're registered, make sure that they'll vote, signing up to be a poll worker. There's a lot of stuff on social media that you can get involved in, there's so many avenues, even if it's just talking to your family members and making sure they vote, encouraging people to vote early, to make sure that their vote is counted on time. That is important. So there are so many ways, and I think that it's no longer an excuse for us to say, oh, I'm not political. I don't involve myself in that. No, you must, because our livelihoods are at stake.
I mean, really, both things are related, right? Like this idea of being a middle manager. Like if you say like I'm not political, that's I don't get involved in all that. It's too much drama. It's the same, right? It feels the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, obviously it's so traumatizing and awful, the things that are going on in our country, in the United States. And we have, people who are watching us from other locations outside of the United States. And I can only imagine what they're watching and thinking and their feelings about what's transpiring. But I think that, again, just to stress that, don't consider you're a middle manager as a stage manager, of course, but you don't have to act that way as an individual. And I'm so grateful for you for that. And we have this instrument, the internet, right? Which I don't know about you, Cody, but I haven't had the internet my whole life. I didn't get it until I was 14. My students here are like, we hear all the time, right? But this is an incredible tool. And I think that, you obviously are all over the internet spreading your inspiration and your love and your joy and your generosity. Do you think that in a way it's sort of a gift, this moment that we have had to pause?
Oh yeah, I mean, also look at what we're doing right now. We're able to engage virtually, and we wouldn't be able to do that without the internet. You have the access to reach anyone in the world through any of these social platforms. So in a way, it is a gift, and also because so much has been shut down, I guess, in the last couple of months, more people are on the internet most of the time. So it depends on what you're putting out into the world, people are seeing. So if you know what I mean? So your voice can have effect on, way more than what I guess you normally would, who you would come in contact with.
Yeah, social media is such a useful tool. I mean, you have a tremendous following on social media, and it really allows people to have access to you in this incredible fashion. And I know social media has things that are great about it and not so great about it. But I know I, for one, am grateful that I have the ability to connect with people in a virtual way, and we can't do it in the same fashion physically right now. Sorry. I have like the tiniest delay. So I'm like, what do you think will be the most challenging when you get back to work in a venue-based fashion? I know you're working, you did the MTV Awards, right? So you've been in the venue-based space. But what did you find challenging about that? What do you think would be challenging when you're back in the rhythm of always being inside a space with other people?
I'm actually working today. I'm at a venue. I'm in a corridor. That's why there's an echo. That's probably why you hear music. We're shooting a music video. And so I've been able to do some events. And I think the biggest thing for me is making the adjustment to a new way of working, you know, because you can't really act on your old instincts because everything has a new safety precaution. So I think like retraining yourself to know that you can't always just, you know, walk up to someone or like touch a certain thing or speak, you know what I mean? Like just remembering that there's new procedures that everyone has to kind of do now. And I think the other thing too is that we're going to have to work extra hard to gain the trust of a company so they feel safe and so they feel taken care of. And I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but I think in the way we speak with people, in the way we engage, in the way we do our work, we're going to have to really think about making people feel comfortable, because a lot of people are going to be afraid to be inside of a venue and to be in close quarters with people when we come back.
I also think there's a lot of, you know, back to, you know, your speech, there's also a lot of uncertainty about what are people doing to implement anti-racist procedures, right? You and I talk a bit, you know, offline about the fact that people keep talking about when we go back, when we get back to it. But look at you, you're at work right now. You know, it's happening. Performing arts are happening. So it's like, what are we doing right now, right? That changes in us. And I think that we all have to be sensitive, obviously, to that trust.
Absolutely.
I'm like are you supposed to be at work right now? I have like 2 more questions. Is it okay that I ask you that? Is that okay your time?
Yeah, of course.
Good. I'm like, oh, you're on set. That's so exciting. We know you miss collaboration, right? We know you miss having those sidebars, you know, after a production meeting, right? What's something tiny and maybe silly that you miss? Like, I sincerely miss the smell of spice tape, like the adhesive. Like, what's something like small that you miss?
Oh goodness. I'm such a dork. I don't know. I miss I miss seeing like lining up the binders for the first day of rehearsal and seeing everybody's name laid out and knowing that like that's the company and feeling like, you know, there's a sense of organization before the chaos begins. Like that is something that I oddly desperately miss as well. So that's kind of, I guess that would be my thing.
I love that. And then taking a picture, right? Like those pictures.
Of course, taking a picture, you know, do it for the gram.
Before people come in and like mess up your beautiful array.
Exactly.
I totally get that. Before I let you go, I want to congratulate you on the Cody Renard Richard Scholarship Program. It's tremendous and everyone's talking about it. It's thrilling and so important. And I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about it, including how we can donate to it.
Yes, thank you. This program has been in the works in my mind for a while. And I guess one of the blessings of this pandemic, it allowed me to kind of sit things that I wanted to do and then act upon it. So I partnered with Broadway Advocacy Coalition to get the program on its feet. And we're currently accepting applications. So if you fit the criteria, please apply. The deadline is October 25th, so that's in 2 weeks. And essentially the program is for non-performance majors who identify as BIPOC. The goal is to uplift and kind of usher in BIPOC leadership. Specifically for myself, I grew up not really seeing myself in this industry. I didn't have any mentors that looks like me. So through this program, we're hoping to provide that. The program will give our recipients $1,500 for a semester, and then they will also join us in 3 online seminar days that will focus on leadership, their specific concentration, and and social justice and all that stuff. So we're really excited. And if you have the means to donate, we are accepting donations. If you go to our website, which is codyrenard.com/scholarship, there are donate buttons all over it. And if you happen to know anyone who would like to come on as a sponsor, we have various sponsorship things as well. So reach out to me. I'm accessible. You can find me at places, and I would love to talk about that some more.
So generous, so accessible. Congratulations again on the scholarship. And thank you so much for the beautiful speech that you shared. I know there's going to be quotes from it bouncing all around the internet. Wonderful tool that we have. Thank you for joining us on the best day all year for stage managers, International Stage Managers Day. And I'm going to let you go so you can go stage manage and do your thing. But I will talk to you soon, my friend. And everyone have a great time with the rest of the National Collaborators Conference. Thanks, Cody.